The vegan smugglers, faces contorted in a mix of shock and terror, could only watch in stunned silence as the lone Terran captain strode into their dimly lit hideout. His mere presence seemed to fill the room, his imposing frame and piercing gaze commanding the attention of all who laid eyes upon him. "You will release my crew," the Deathworlder declared, his deep voice rumbling with authority. "And you will return the cargo you stole from my ship." The leader of the smugglers, a burly Kalian known for his ruthlessness, attempted to muster a semblance of bravado. "And what if we refuse, Terran?" he growled, his hand inching towards the holster at his side. In a blur of motion, the Deathworlder captain crossed the distance between them, his fingers closing around the Kalian's throat in an iron grip. The smuggler's eyes bulged as he was effortlessly lifted off the ground, his legs kicking uselessly as he struggled to breathe. "Then you will die," the Deathworlder said, his tone calm and unwavering. The other smugglers, their resolve shattered, quickly complied, releasing the Terran crew and returning the stolen cargo. As the prisoners were ushered out, they cast awed glances at their rescuer, their expressions a mix of gratitude and disbelief. Once the last of his crew had departed, the Deathworlder captain turned his attention back to the choking Kalian, his grip tightening ever so slightly. "See to it that you and your kind never cross paths with my people again," he warned, before unceremoniously dropping the smuggler to the floor. The Kalian gasped for breath, his eyes burning with a mixture of fear and hatred as he watched the Deathworlder depart. It was a moment that would be seared into his memory, forever altering his perception of these once dismissed Terran savages. News of the Deathworlder's exploits spread through the underworld like wildfire, each retelling growing more embellished than the last. Tales of his unwavering resolve, his superhuman strength, and his utter disregard for his own safety captivated the imaginations of criminal elements and law-abiding citizens alike. But the echoes of his actions would soon reach far beyond the depths of the underworld, rippling outward through the halls of power and into the consciousness of the galactic community at large. For the Deathworlder's display of force had not gone unnoticed by the ruling bodies of the galaxy, who had long dismissed the Terrans as little more than primitive curiosities. Now, as they watched the security footage from the vegan trade hub, the members of the Galactic Council found themselves grappling with a startling realization. The age of Deathworlder dominance had begun. Whispers of their formidable abilities had circulated for years, but the Council had always dismissed such claims as exaggerations. Now, faced with irrefutable evidence of their strength, they were forced to confront the implications of this new and unpredictable species taking its place among the galactic powers. Some argue for immediate action, calling for the Deathworlders to be expelled from the community or at the very least kept under strict observation. Others, more cautious, urged their colleagues to tread carefully, mindful of the potential consequences of antagonizing a species whose capabilities they still barely understood. As the heated debate raged on, a lone voice emerged, cutting through the din with a measured tone. "Perhaps," the Venusian counselor mused, "it is time we extend an olive branch to our Terran brethren and see what opportunities for cooperation may lie before us." The room fell silent, all eyes turning towards the venerable Venusian as he continued, "After all, if we are to maintain the delicate balance of power in this galaxy, we would do well to have the Deathworlders as allies, rather than adversaries." The Venusian's words echoed through the Galactic Council chamber, their weight carrying far beyond the confines of the room. For the first time, the assembled leaders were forced to truly confront the implications of the Deathworlders' presence in the galaxy. In the weeks that followed, covert operatives and shadowy figures began to converge on the bustling trade hubs and backwater outposts where rumors of Terran activity had surfaced. Among them were the agents of powerful warlords and crime lords, their eyes gleaming with a mixture of greed and desperation. Chief among them was Tarog, a ruthless Cargosian warlord whose vast criminal empire had long relied on the labor of subjugated alien species. The stories of the Deathworlders' exploits had piqued his interest, and he was determined to harness their formidable abilities for his own nefarious ends. Assembling a team of his most cunning and capable underlings, Haxarog set out to devise a plan worthy of such a daunting task. They would need to lure a Deathworlder into a trap, subdue them, and then find a way to bend their will to serve the warlord's insatiable ambitions. After weeks of meticulous planning, the trap was set. A false distress signal was transmitted from a remote mining colony, drawing the attention of a lone Terran freighter. As the ship descended to render aid, it was suddenly surrounded by Xarog's forces, their heavily armed vessels cutting off any chance of escape. The Deathworlder captain, a seasoned veteran named Kara, immediately recognized the ruse for what it was. But even as her crew prepared for a fight, she knew that their only chance of survival lay in capitulation. With a heavy heart, she ordered her men to stand down and surrender. As Kara and her crew were hauled aboard Xarog's flagship, the warlord watched with glee, his plans finally coming to fruition. "Welcome to my domain, Deathworlder," he sneered, his eyes glinting with malicious intent. "You and your kind are about to learn the true meaning of power." But Kara remained unfazed, her expression calm and resolute. "You have made a grave mistake, Xarog," she said, her voice betraying no hint of fear. "The age of Deathworlder dominance has only just begun." The warlord's brow furrowed in confusion, until a sudden commotion erupted outside the bridge. Moments later, the door burst open, and a lone Terran figure strode into the room, his very presence radiating a palpable aura of danger. Xarog's underlings, hardened criminals all, recoiled in terror at the sight of the Deathworlder warrior. His eyes burned with a fierce intensity, and his muscular frame seemed to fill the room, dwarfing even the imposing Cargosian warlord. "Release them," the Deathworlder growled, his voice a deep rumble that sent shivers down the spines of all who heard it. Now, Xarog, his earlier confidence shaken, hesitated for a moment, his mind racing to find a way out of this unexpected predicament. But one glance at the unwavering determination in the Deathworlder's eyes was enough to dispel any notion of defiance. With a resigned sigh, the warlord nodded to his men, who quickly set about freeing Kara and her crew. As they made their way to the airlock, the Deathworlder warrior kept his piercing gaze fixed on Xarog, a silent warning that the age of Deathworlder dominance had well and truly begun. News of the Deathworlder's daring rescue mission spread through the galactic underworld like wildfire, leaving a trail of stunned criminals and warlords in its wake. The sheer audacity of the feat, coupled with the Deathworlder's unwavering display of power, had shaken the very foundations of the criminal element that had long thrived in the shadows of the galaxy. But the reverberations of this event would soon be felt far beyond the seedy underbelly of the cosmos. As reports of that incident reached the Galactic Council, the governing body was once again thrust into a heated debate over the implications of the Deathworlder's growing influence. Some counselors, still clinging to the outdated perceptions of Terrans as primitive savages, argued vehemently for their immediate subjugation. They warned of the dangers of allowing such a formidable species to gain a foothold in the galactic community, citing the potential for disruption and chaos. "These Deathworlders are a threat to the very fabric of our civilization," one Arcturian counselor proclaimed, his voice laced with alarm. "We must act swiftly to contain them, before they bring ruin to all that we have built." But others, like the Venusian who had spoken up in the previous council session, urged for a more measured approach. They recognized the potential power of the Deathworlders as allies, and argued that it would be in the galaxy's best interest to extend an olive branch and seek cooperation. "These Terrans have shown themselves to be not only powerful, but also pragmatic," the Venusian counselor stated, his tone calm and measured. "If we approach them with openness and respect, we may find that they are willing to work with us towards a future of mutual prosperity." The debate raged on for hours, with neither side willing to back down. It was not until a lone Deathworlder representative stepped forward, his mere presence commanding the attention of the entire council, that the tide began to turn. "Esteemed members of the Galactic Council," the Deathworlder began, his deep voice resonating through the chamber. "We come to you not as conquerors, but as partners. Our people have long been dismissed and overlooked, but no more. We seek to forge a new path, one that benefits not only our own kind, but the entire galaxy. As he spoke, the Deathworlder subtly flexed his muscles, a silent reminder of the sheer power that his species possessed. But his words were not laced with threats or demands. Rather, they carried an air of quiet confidence and a genuine desire for cooperation. "We have much to offer," the Deathworlder continued, "in the realms of technology, exploration, and defense. But we also have much to learn from you, the established powers of this galaxy. Together, we can create a future of unparalleled progress and stability." The counselors, once divided, found themselves swayed by the Deathworlder's measured rhetoric and the undeniable aura of authority that surrounded him. Slowly, the tide began to turn, as even the most skeptical of lawmakers began to reconsider their position. In the end, it was an unanimous decision. The Deathworlders would be granted a seat on the Galactic Council, forever altering the balance of power in the cosmos. As the Deathworlder representative took his place among the galactic elite, the ripple effects of this decision began to manifest across the cosmos. Suddenly, the once dismissive species found themselves at the forefront of every major political and economic discussion, their unique capabilities in high demand. Their lightning-fast adaptation to alien environments, coupled with their boundless ingenuity, made them invaluable assets in a galaxy plagued by resource scarcity and environmental challenges. Terran teams were dispatched to worlds long thought inhospitable, terraforming barren landscapes and establishing thriving settlements where others had failed. In the realm of technology, the Deathworlders proved to be true visionaries, their innovative minds pushing the boundaries of what was considered possible. They shared their knowledge freely, working alongside the other galactic powers to develop breakthroughs that would benefit the entire community. But it was in the realm of defense that the true power of the Deathworlders became most apparent. Faced with the threat of hostile alien races and rogue warlords, the Terran warriors stood as an impenetrable bulwark, their physical prowess and uncompromising resolve turning the tide of countless battles. Warlords and crime lords, once emboldened by the Deathworlders' perceived weakness, now found themselves on the receiving end of their wrath. Attempts to subjugate or exploit the Terran people were met with swift and decisive retribution, as lone Deathworlder warriors materialized in the heart of their strongholds, dispatching their captors with ruthless efficiency. The other galactic powers, once wary of the Deathworlders, began to see them as invaluable allies, their formidable abilities a necessary counterbalance to the growing threats that lurked in the shadows. Cooperation and trade agreements were forged, cementing the Terrans' place at the center of the galactic community. But even as the Deathworlders rose to prominence, there were those who still viewed them with suspicion and unease. Some saw their rapid ascent as a threat to the established order, while others feared the implications of harnessing such raw power. Tensions began to mount, as factions within the Galactic Council jockeyed for influence and control. The Deathworlders, however, remained steadfast, their unwavering commitment to cooperation and mutual prosperity acting as a stabilizing force amidst the political turmoil. It was a delicate balancing act, one that required the Terran representatives to navigate the treacherous waters of galactic politics with the same skill and tenacity they displayed on the battlefield. But as the Deathworlders continued to prove their worth time and time again, the skepticism that had once shrouded them began to give way to a newfound respect. In the eyes of the galaxy, the Deathworlders were no longer mere curiosities or primitives to be dismissed. They were a force to be reckoned with, a species that had emerged from the shadows to claim its rightful place among the galactic elite. And as the other powers struggled to keep pace with the Terrans' rapid ascent, it became clear that the age of Deathworlder dominance was only just beginning. With a seat on the Galactic Council secured, the Deathworlders set their sights on the betterment of their homeworld and the advancement of their species. They leveraged their newfound influence to champion the rights of their people, pushing for greater environmental protections and technological sharing across the galaxy. On Earth, the impact of the Deathworlders' rise to power was immediately felt. Empowered by their species' newfound status, the people of the once overlooked planet poured their boundless energy and creativity into tackling the challenges that had long plagued their world. Vast reforestation efforts took root, as Terran engineers and scientists developed innovative techniques to restore the planet's ravaged ecosystems. Polluted waterways were cleansed, and renewable energy sources were harnessed on an unprecedented scale, transforming Earth into a shining beacon of sustainable development. But the Deathworlders' influence extended far beyond the borders of their homeworld. They leveraged their diplomatic clout to forge lucrative trade agreements, securing access to the resources and technologies necessary to fuel their planet's rapid transformation. In the process, they became indispensable partners to the other galactic powers, their formidable capabilities and unwavering commitment to cooperation making them invaluable allies. The once skeptical counselors who had once feared the Deathworlders now marveled at their contributions, recognizing the vital role they played in maintaining the delicate balance of power in the cosmos. But even as the Deathworlders cemented their place among the galactic elite, they never lost sight of their roots. They remained fiercely protective of their homeworld and its people, using their influence to champion the rights and interests of Terrans across the stars. When a devastating alien invasion threatened to lay waste to the Earth, the Deathworlders rallied their fellow counselors, mobilizing a coalition of galactic forces to repel the invaders. In the ensuing battle, the true might of the Terran warriors was on full display, as they fought with a ferocity and tenacity that shocked even their most seasoned allies. In the aftermath, the galaxy looked upon the Deathworlders with a newfound sense of awe and respect. Gone were the dismissive attitudes and perceptions of primitives. In their place stood a species that had risen from obscurity to become a driving force in the advancement of the entire galactic community. As the Deathworlders continued to make their mark on the cosmos, their homeworld of Earth also underwent a remarkable transformation. With the resources and technologies acquired through their diplomatic and economic dealings, the people of Earth poured their boundless energy and creativity into tackling the challenges that had long plagued their planet. From environmental restoration to technological breakthroughs, the Deathworlders' impact was felt across the galaxy, leaving a lasting impression on all who witnessed their rise to prominence. They had proven that the strength of the human spirit, when harnessed and nurtured, was a force to be reckoned with, a shining example of the boundless potential of a species that had once been so easily overlooked. And as the galaxy watched in awe, it became clear that the age of Deathworlder dominance was only just beginning.